This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good evening this morning, and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk all day. We apologize for the late start, but we are getting right at it. It's Wednesday, the 20th of March, 2024, and you're on the clock with Erin Greene. On Wednesdays, on the clock in Guardian Radio AM, come together for a man-down mashup session where we interrogate the news. Well, this morning in the first part of the show, we're expecting representatives from BAIC to join us to talk about an event for their tenants, a symposium for tenants to inform new tenants of funding opportunities for project development. And there's so much more to talk about in the world of agriculture. There's the BAIC feed mill. There's the Golden Yoke project. There is the Agribusiness Expo returning April 12th through 13th. Then there's the event Taste and Tell that's also returning in the month of April. And then there's an issue that I know a number of local farmers are very concerned about, that is agricultural theft, or the formal legal term is predial larceny. Predial larceny or agricultural theft. So we await the representatives from BAIC to join us this morning for a wonderful conversation. It's a little bit of housekeeping to give them some time. I want to remind everyone that the Hannah Hasty Tynes HHT Family Association March meeting is taking place tonight, Wednesday, the 20th of March, 2024, at 6:45 p.m. via Zoom. The meeting has been pushed a week forward earlier. We're pushing it forward a week, having it earlier than normal because next week is Holy Week. You can find the Zoom link. It's been posted yesterday, the day before, and today. It'll be posted again today on various HHT, that's Hannah Hasty Tynes Family Association media platforms, like the three WhatsApp groups, the Reunion group, Family is Everything, and Hannah Hasty Tynes, the two Facebook groups, and you can check my wall for the link after the show. Numbers to call for more details, number to call 455-7242. Email hhtreunion1782@gmail.com. At the meeting tonight, we're going to be discussing details for the upcoming family reunion. That's August 1st through 5th, 2024. And the South Southern Walkathon taking place Saturday, April 6th at St. John's Stapleton Gardens. Good morning. I've asked Mr. Nuri just to sit in with me. Well, of course, this is our show, but we await BAIC. As soon as they arrive, we're going to segue into that conversation. Mr. Nuri, the news is filled with news this morning. I had a couple of stories lined up from yesterday. AI-driven solutions can improve our healthcare, reduce poverty, combat climate change, and mitigate crime, according to Parliamentary Secretary of Economic Affairs, Wade Watson. Then I have these two stories which I think are very interesting. First, on the 8th of March, the minister responsible for housing, Mr. Keith Bell, spoke. We're going to pull his words from this article. Ministry of Housing looking to redevelop abandoned homes into affordable housing. I got really excited. I would love to hear what this is all about. I'd love to see a white paper, a policy paper, and get a look at the short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals of the project. Housing Minister Keith Bell said his ministry wants to introduce a pilot program to redevelop abandoned properties and transform them into affordable housing areas. Mr. Bell, who was delivering his mid-year budget contribution, said in the House, our efforts are aimed not only at enhancing the urban landscape, but also at fostering a nurturing environment where community members have ample opportunity to thrive without the fear of displacement. He did not say which areas the government is looking to redevelop. He said development works are still ongoing with the Renaissance Carmichael project. Quote, in Grand Bahama, he added, we are at the forefront of what will perhaps become the most significant impact that any government will have on the people residing in the Freeport area of Grand Bahama. It is an eagerly anticipated rejuvenation project in an area called Garden Villas. Let me say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in collaboration with the Ministry of Grand Bahama and the Honorable Member for Pine Ridge and Minister, this area, which is within the heart of Freeport, is on the cusp of a major transformation that will revitalize its landscape and enhance the safety and aesthetics of the community. They also are working in Abaco. The minister says, as for Abaco, 10 homes have already been built in the Central Pines area, with an additional 20 on the horizon. In Spring City, he revealed plans to build 48,000 more homes in that community. Similar works are also in the pipeline for San Salvador.
How many houses for Spring City he said he envisioned?
He revealed plans to build 48 more homes in that community. All right, the second article, Bell, rent to own will help thousands. Housing Minister Keith Bell said government's rent-to-own program would help people who cannot get a mortgage because they have other debt or cannot pay the down payment needed to get a loan. Quote, what it really means is that we find that there are a number of persons who want homes, they have saved that down payment, but because they have some consumer debt, they're unable to qualify for a mortgage, he said. Sometimes they may be able to pay a loan, but they don't have the down payment. So the idea is to be able to put them in their homes, and their payments will go towards the deposit to bring down their consumer debt.
Yeah.
He said when people reach a point where they can qualify for a mortgage, officials will, quote, take them into the bank and qualify them. It's very innovative, it's very progressive, and it's going to help thousands of Bahamians, he said. He suggested that some homes in the Renaissance at Carmichael Housing Development will be used in the project. During his midterm budget debate last week, Mr. Bell said the program would see the government redevelop abandoned properties and transform them into affordable housing areas. So there's lots to talk about. Mr. Nuri, I see you want to respond.
I'm trying to understand what's the mortgage corporation and what's their mandate, their objective. I thought the mortgage corporation was the government's plan, the government's response to people, like what the quote said, who cannot afford the down payment. They have a payment plan, and who have issues with debt payment in terms of ratio. That's what the mortgage corporation. So I see this new program, and I say, hey, people need housing, even though people need apartment and access to housing because we have housing shortage.
But people need housing, and I think what the government is still missing is a determination on what type of housing do people, A, need, B, want, and C, what they can actually afford to maintain over the long term.
And I accept that. And we've had that argument before, whether the government is answering the problem of housing in the Bahamas, and we concluded that they're not.
Right.
This rent to own is not the response. This building of houses with mortgages is not the response. They're treating the symptom and not necessarily what we in the Bahamas are going through. The illness, right? And the illness is we don't have enough houses, not enough apartments, not enough access to accommodations, that's a better word, in the Bahamas. But my concern is, I'm doing this rent to own. Who am I paying? Am I paying into the government? I'm paying into the mortgage corporation. Who is collecting the rent?
Who owns the home that I'm renting?
Yes, who doing the tallying? Who doing the maintenance? Who's paying the insurance? Right. How long will this payment for? If the down payment is $10,000, right? Let's picture Abaco, right? Abaco, a typical rent is about near $1,000, and if you do a rent to own in Abaco, right? Mm-hmm. Am I paying the $1,000, or I have to pay a little more, up to $1,500 now, mm-hmm. right? 500 goes, let's make it lower, 1,200, 200 goes towards this down payment, and the $1,000 goes towards the
actual rent itself.
Rent. Or there's no rent at all, and they all use all that money to bill.
And let's go back to the minister's words, because I would demand, I think clarity is needed. The minister says sometimes they may be able to pay a loan, but they don't have the down payment. So the idea is to be able to put them in their homes, and their payments will go towards the deposit to bring down their consumer debt.
So there's no collateral. So you just rent it.
Right, but not just that. I don't understand what he's saying here. Okay, you saved the down. Okay, so you're in the home, and your payment goes towards the deposit, right? What is that? So like you said, if it's $1,200, then $1,000 is the actual rent, and $200 goes towards a down payment, right? Or something that allows me to qualify for the loan. But then it goes on to say to bring down their consumer debt. Right? If you tell me that it's $1,200, $1,000 is the rent, mm-hmm. and $200 goes into escrow, mm-hmm. an escrow account for you, so that you can amass a sufficient amount to secure a reasonable down payment mm-hmm. for the mortgage, mm-hmm. right? But it says to bring down their consumer debt.
The debt doesn't go down. It's still the same.
But not just that, what does them renting a house have to do, and paying you, the government, I presume, have to do with their consumer debt, which I imagine is with a private bank?
Mm-hmm. So it doesn't change. So they still will have the debt.
Right. And now here's another question that should cause the government to pause and assess whether this conversation has been broad enough. I just saw a statistic, I have to confirm it, but a statistic suggesting that 1 out of every 3 homes and rental units in the metro Atlanta area are owned by a corporation. Mm-hmm.
Private entity.
A private corporation. 1 out of every 3 homes. And what are the potential implications of consequences of having so much of your housing inventory being owned by private corporations? Right? And people paying rent to, or people paying a lease to, right? They're leasing a home. And is that what is intended by home ownership, right? As opposed to assessing that perhaps there's something wrong in the market. Like, to me, that should be an indicator that there's something wrong, and landlord, tenant, rental property laws need to be re-examined and reassessed for their efficacy, right, and relevance. Because a third of your housing inventory.
But that's American statistics, and I understand.
But is there potential of that becoming a Bahamian problem, since we like to follow American economic models without correctly assessing them for relevance and accuracy in our market?
So let's lay out the government's plan. The government's plan is that they are pushing home ownership rather than rental access.
Right.
We have a rental access crisis. Let's start off with that.
Yeah.
There's a rental access crisis for Bahamians who want to rent a house, have access to someplace to sleep. Mm-hmm. In response to, there's a shortage of Bahamians having a rental access. The government said they'll provide ownership of houses instead, mm-hmm. right? One of my concern is who it will be collecting this rent-to-own money. Where does that fund go? Does it go to the consolidated fund? Mm-hmm. Does it go to the mortgage corporation?
Right.
Does it go to a private institution? Because now they have all kind of private
lending institutions.
Not lending institutions, but the people who do it on the phone, who's collect government money.
Oh, debt collectors.
Government debt collectors now who putting monies in private accounts and getting the interest on government.
And
Do we
it's-
ever find out if that institution still holding the government money hostage?
Which one of them?
The one where the
The
prime
one where
minister came.
when he was telling the joke in the House of Assembly?
Yeah, we never get any resolution. Just asking.
I've not seen or heard a formal statement from the government or from the Prime Minister directly identifying the company that he referenced in that little key joke he told us that day in the House of Assembly.
There's a number of issues like that. He never came back to the public, and the public never.
And then
followed
my
up.
concern is the government partnering with a private entity to provide this rent-to-own program?
I'm assuming that these are government houses. These are government houses, right?
And-
Go ahead.
Because here's the next thing. You make the point that we have a rental crisis.
Yes,
we also have a home ownership crisis, or mortgage crisis, because I imagine that at least 50% of homeowners, people who are paying mortgages, don't have sufficient funds to maintain their homes properly, to maintain or increase the value of the home and the property. Most people are barely
Making it,
putting in the proper maintenance for their homes.
And anyone who owns a house, a home, would tell you, say, boy, it's the maintenance afterwards when you get it. You know,
Yeah.
the 1 year in, the 5 year in, when you say, I can't paint anymore.
So when you're paying say you're paying $1,500 a month in the mortgage payment, then you need to be prepared to put aside $1,000 a month for maintenance.
For lease insurance.
Regular, no, not, okay, first of all, if you paying a mortgage, don't just let the bank that's offering the mortgage take out insurance on the home. Make sure you take out insurance on the home as well. But further to that, so there's the insurance the money for insurance you need to have. You need to have that $1,000 if your mortgage is say $15,000 to $2,000. You need to have $1,000 available for regular maintenance and mishaps, right?
So imagine and interrogating this government plan. They're saying that you don't have to spare money at all.
Right.
They're trying to help you out. And they now putting a burden on people who do not have the spare money, according to them. They're saying they
Right.
don't have the spare funds. And say that you're going to be renting to own, right? You're paying extra. I assume you're paying extra because they didn't give it any detail, right? The rent and then the extra money to pay down on the down payment. But who is responsible for the maintenance in the meantime? Who is responsible for the insurance in the
Is
meantime?
the tenant responsible or is the landlord responsible for maintenance? And what level of maintenance, right? Is it the big stuff? Is it the painting, the boxing? Is it, right?
Does the government have an interest in making sure that the house isn't abused, not being non-penal, not looking after? Who is responsible for this house?
And in terms of property disputes, right? Like my neighbor has built up a portion of his yard that causes water to now flow or flood into my yard, right? Where it may have drained off naturally in another direction or in another way. Now my neighbor has done something to the yard that causes the water to now flow directly into my property and potentially impact, say, the infrastructure, the structural integrity of the home. Who is responsible for identifying it? Who's responsible? You forgive me, we just went dead for a second. Okay, good. Who's responsible for launching the case?
Go
Who's
ahead.
responsible for all of these matters, right? Is it the tenant or is it the landlord? Is it the tenant or is it the landlord? And so may be a great opportunity, right? This may be a great opportunity for the state to offer these homes or to partner with reputable service providers, and then provide regulations to govern the landlord-tenant relationship, real substantive regulations to govern that relationship.
And as we transition, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate the effort the government is doing. I'm not critiquing the effort. I understand they acknowledge that we have a crisis. I don't believe technically they're addressing the crisis. They have a method. I don't think that's the best method they're doing. Because I say we have a rental crisis, but I'm willing to wait. But they definitely owe us a duty of care to explain this thoroughly. I just don't understand it, and I think it would be wrong, amiss of us, to not push back and say you owe us a duty of care to explain how this is going to work, and not put people into houses, right? And 5 years from now, we realize they weren't paying any rent. You can't put them out, right? Who owns this house after they've been inside it for 5 years, right? I think there needs to be more information on it.
Right. So it like you said, so it's a wonderful opportunity, right? And when we look to our brothers and sisters to the north, we know an anecdotal statistic: there are more abandoned homes in the U.S. than there are unhoused people. Imagine that there are more abandoned homes in the U.S. than there are unhoused people. And I think we could have a similar situation here where we have more housing inventory available than we think. We just need to organize and strategize the best way to get people in homes.
And 2 more points, right? Yeah. I still want to talk about the government using dilapidated houses,
right? Okay.
To rent, right? I want to know how they're going to do that, what they're going to do that for. I still want to know will be collecting this rent, right? Who's going to be collecting this rent and where it's going to be stored, that money. I want to know the agreement. Hash it out. Explain to us what should we be expecting. How would I be able to qualify, especially in an era when they have over 50% of mortgages failing. People can't afford to pay their mortgage or lose their mortgage. Do we anticipate that 50% of this rent-to-own people will stop paying?
Right. Are we prepared for that? Do we have a mechanism to deal with that?
Do we have a mechanism?
And do we understand the need to bring seniors in high schools into this conversation for those who don't intend to go off to university or intend to work and go to university here in the Bahamas or go to another tertiary institution, right? I think that so they can prepare themselves for the future. Yeah. But Mr. Nuri, we got BAIC in the Zoom room. Okay. Yeah, man, and I'm so thankful because it's a fantastic cadre of events coming up in the next few months. Good morning.
We have to unmute their mic.
Yeah, here we go. Good morning. Welcome to Guardian 9 FM.
A pleasant good morning. We are glad to be here on the radio this morning. And I am LeVar Miller, the Assistant Manager of the Corporate Communications Department at BAIC. And with us, we also have Ms.
Deidre Miller, the Senior Manager.
Good morning, ma'am.
And welcome.
And,
welcome.
We're here to announce a symposium for our new tenants. That is scheduled for Thursday, the 21st, 6 to 9, in the afternoon here at BAIC.
Right, in the BAIC training room on Old Trail Road opposite BTVI, and this location now houses the produce exchange.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. As you know, BAIC is mandated to empower Bahamians to become entrepreneurs. And in order to assist us in doing this, the government has entrusted some 26,000 acres of land spread out between the islands of Abaco, Andros, Eleuthera, and New Providence. And these islands are being leased for agricultural, industrial, and touristic purposes. Over the years, some of our board-approved applicants were able to develop the land that was given to them and were able to start successful businesses. However, on the other hand, there were others who failed to do so, and the land had to be revoked. Today, we still find ourselves in the same position, and approved applicants have been stagnant in the development of their projects, and sometimes after the 6 to 12 month period designated for the start of development, there is still nothing on the land. For reasons we think lack of knowledge, difficulties in dealing with government and financial agencies, and even the lack of funding. Our executive chairman, Mr. Leroy, the Honorable Leroy Major, is zealous to empower Bahamians to become entrepreneurs, and he has opened the door to knowledge in providing the arena where these new applicants would be enlightened about the services offered by the agencies that they need to start their businesses. In light of this fact, the corporation is bringing together um, newly approved applicants, tenants who have been approved but may yet be unable to pay all of their fees and are stagnant, and new tenants who would have already paid their fees but are still stagnant. We're bringing them together in a forum with government and financial agencies who directly impact the decision making process in starting a business, whereby putting them on a better footing to become entrepreneurs. This forum, the symposium for new tenants, like I would have said, we held tomorrow at 6 to 9 in our training room. Mm-hmm. And the panelists include persons from Inland Revenue, National Insurance Board, the Physical Town Planning, Access / Small Business, SBDC, I'm sorry, Bank of the Bahamas, Bank of Bahamas Development Bank, the Tourism Development Corporation, and Lands and Surveys. The corporation has also signed memorandum of understandings with BDB, Bahamas Develop with the Bahamas Development Bank, the Bank of the Bahamas, and the SBDC in order to assist these new tenants. The panelists they'll provide information about the services that their agency provides. Each panelist will be allowed 7 to 10 minutes presentation, after which they will receive questions from the participants. As the majority BAIC properties is on the family of violence, a Zoom link has been provided to those tenants who will be attending the session via Zoom. Our New Providence tenants will be expected to attend in person here at our training center on Old Trail Road. After the symposium, we envisage that the new tenants, persons who would have gotten this information, would have been equipped with this new knowledge and will seek assistance from these agencies and in the hopes of bringing forth the commencement of and the establishment of new development and businesses. New tenants who have not received the informational flyer from us and wish to attend, they may contact myself, Deidre Miller, LeVar Miller, or Lester Stewart at BAIC, and our number at BAIC is 396-25 or 6. Okay.
All right. If I'm a potential new tenant, I'm interested in venturing into this area. Is there a space for me at this meeting, or is it only for people who already have a relationship with BAIC?
This it's basically for persons who already have the relationship with BAIC.
Okay.
And they would have been approved by the board of directors.
Okay.
Yeah. So what this is like Mrs. Miller would have said, it's for our new approved applicants who may be challenged in one way or the other with getting other aspects of the business off the ground. And so this is a way of us bringing all of the different government agencies that one may have to go to in order to start up their business after they would have gotten the lease approval from us, to bring them all together, to make it an easier process for them to continue on that track as it relates to starting their business.
Absolutely. Now, the representatives attending are all sort of lending institutions or state agencies. Would any of these bodies provide funding for security solutions, or to strategize or create a response to agricultural theft?
Agricultural.
Could you explain that a bit more?
All right, so I'm a new tenant. I've identified the land that I'm working on. And so I'm coming to the meeting. I wanted to see what resources are available, say in terms of cutting a road, a more convenient road to my property. What type of funding can I get? Are any of the sort of funding agencies or any of the funding available, can it be used to create strategies to combat or deal with agricultural theft? As a new tenant or an existing tenant, that may be priority issues for me as I'm putting together my new business.
Well, I think in an aspect like that is why we have persons from the Small Business Development Center who would be there, who would be able to go more in details in that aspect of funding that they do permit. And so that's why it's vital for these new approved applicants to come to the meeting to hear from these individual representatives, so that if they have questions pertaining to the funding aspect of it, as BAIC is not a funding institution of the government, they would be able to get a response from them. And so it's a networking process as well. Normally, it may be a bit difficult for persons to get these individuals in a room together. And so what we've done is we've crafted a symposium where we would have all of these different agencies at the same time with the same goal in mind, to try and see how best we could make these businesses, these new entrepreneurs successful.
Absolutely. This is wonderful to hear. At the beginning of March, I read an article entitled "Impossible to Find Funds for Bahamian Farming," where the story highlighted three actors in the agricultural space. One was Cindy Pinder, owner of Abaco Big Bird and Poultry Farming. She said the past 5 years have been hard due to obstacles such as Hurricane Dorian, and it's been difficult because the lending institutions only offer cash-secured loans. But in the very same day, in the very same paper, there was another story: agreements signed to help farmers to obtain loans, where BAIC signed a memorandum of understanding with the Bank of the Bahamas. Will you be discussing this new sort of quote-unquote loan facility at this meeting as well?
Well, we will have, and that is why we've included these different agencies. We would have also signed a MOU with the Bahamas Development Bank that would speak more to agricultural projects. So they would be there too,
Awesome.
As well as Bank of the Bahamas. And so all of these questions that are new and approved applicants, as well as new tenants, they would be able to channel all of these questions that you would have just brought up to these individuals who would be able to assist them further. I just want to say that this is the beginning part of it. We are looking to hopefully extend it to the general public. But right now, what we want to do is we want to make sure that those persons who have sought us as the starting point for their business be successful moving throughout. And so it's to develop a network with these different corporations and agencies that are affiliated with the government. And so we look forward to seeing the successful outcome as a result of having this for these entrepreneurs.
Right.
For people who are just now hearing the advantages of partnering with BAIC, but did not know that this existed, is there any kind of contact or landing page they can go to start this process, say, I want to be a partner in the future?
I want to be in the next cohort of applicants.
Yes, this is done through our property department. Our website is baic.gov.bs, and once you enter the portal, there is you just look for application to lease land. Click on that, and it will take you to our application. The individual fills it out, downloads the information that is required, and submit, and it comes directly to us.
Now, let me ask you a quick question. You know how sometimes you could rent furniture, you could rent a house and it comes with the furniture with it? You all have any property that already comes fenced in?
No, that is something that the applicant or the approved tenant would have to do. That's their responsibility.
Okay, absolutely. I have a text here. I just want to, from a listener, they're very excited. They say, "Good day. The symposium sounds awesome. I wish potential new tenants could be a part of it. However, if I, who live in Abaco, apply for land to build a hotel and I am approved, I build the hotel and business goes well. What has to happen for me to maintain the lease? And what are the conditions that the property that I have put capital in would be taken away?" And I guess to start that sort of response off, I do recall that you referenced touristic ventures, right?
Yes.
So could you define the scope of a touristic venture in terms of this agriculture, the BAIC project, and then perhaps that'll give us more of an answer for the texter.
Okay. Once an individual would have been approved for property for touristic purposes, and it's specifically right now for Airbnb purposes, and it's approved by the board. A lease agreement would outline the specifics of that project, and as long as the person remains in line with that, there are no
With the
breaches.
criteria, yeah.
There is no problem with maintaining the property.
And we want to make it clear too, BAIC is being given land to lease by the government, which is different from crown land that the government may have. And so there's a difference in the BAIC land that we have, which Ms. Miller would have said is some 26,000 acres spread over a few islands. And so we started the touristic part of it because we realized that there are individuals who want to get in that aspect of it. Initially, it was really for manufacturing and industrial and agricultural. And so we realized that adding the touristic part of it also brings in the opportunity for other persons who may have an idea to get involved from that standpoint. And so what we want to do is we want persons to succeed and not fail. And so bringing together all of these agencies and having them to speak on different issues from their perspective, where persons can benefit that they may not know. We see it as a positive. And like I said, that it's right now just for the new applicants that have been approved by our board and the new tenants that may have some issues. And then we're hoping to hopefully open it up to the general public at a later date.
Give me some brief information about the board, that process. Like I'm applying and I go to the board. How long does it take for a response? Something like that.
Okay. Once we receive the application and all of the required documents are attached to it, it shouldn't take you. It goes to the board within a 30-day period.
Okay.
And approval would be received.
Our board meets every month.
Okay.
So
A regular review of applications.
right. Okay.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm very excited because I already have a farm Airbnb where you could pick and process your food all at the same time. I put in all three in one time. Take my oath to the billy goat. As soon as I finish with this cookout to pay off the national debt, I can start putting my money together to become an applicant with BAIC. I mean, in fact, I want to invite you guys back on just to talk about that aspect, right? That particular project coming out of BAIC, because I'm sure there are lots of people who would take advantage of a partnership with BAIC to grow an Airbnb product.
And that's why we saw the need to expand in that area, because we realized that, a lot of persons are now using the Airbnb platform when they're traveling. Locals too, who would want to go and experience a family island, they would want that experience. And so we see it as helping to grow the economy. And BAIC is the government's agency to promote entrepreneurship. And so we do that through having our business services department that deals with the business plan writing and proposal writing, and they deal with business seminars. We do that through the property department that is responsible for the leasing and trying to acquire land for us, for persons who are interested in land. And we do that through our orange economy department that deals with craft and the orange sector. And so there's so many different areas that BAIC touch that we assist with ensuring that we improve the landscape as it relates to entrepreneurship in the country. And we've been doing so under the leadership of our executive chairman, Mr. Leroy Major. And so we just hope that we have more successful stories than those that are failing. And this is one aspect of us trying to focus in on our tenants, giving them that direct focus that wasn't done before on this level, where we can have them in a room together with these subject matter experts in the different government agencies that would be willing to assist them with the relevant information.
I see earlier you mentioned Ministry of Tourism. I was trying to see the connection, so forgive me for asking.
But that's the touristic part with the Airbnb.
Oh, it's Erin.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's the Tourism Development Corporation.
Yes.
Yes,
And they'll be
and
present
that's why
tomorrow.
Right.
Like I said, I think this is fantastic. In a tourism conversation we were having, like I've been speaking to stakeholders and expanding my lexicon, the language available to me to talk about tourism. And this tourism stakeholder said to me, Greene, when the cruise passenger is a customer of the cruise line, and a resort guest is the customer of the resort. Who is the Bahamian, right? And so although we're in a sort of a tight housing situation where we're looking for beds for Bahamian heads, we also see the need to grow the Bahamian tourism product with 100% Bahamian-owned tourist offerings. And so this is a wonderful avenue. And to just give people a sense of what is possible, I want to read a quick headline from the 4th of March. Abaco Neem ready to develop 7 acres for eco-tourist attraction. An Abaco farm has purchased 7.11 acre, 7.11 acre plot of land to build a new eco-tourist attraction amid high interest for its product after an 85% business loss following Hurricane Dorian. And they traveled to India for business, and people were so impressed by their product in India. And the thing of it is, India is the home of neem, right? Like that's neem central. And for the Indian stakeholders to be so impressed with this Bahamian product, imagine all the other local could be the center of an eco-tourism project. Like when I start my sea grape, my small plum empire, sea grape, scarlet plum, hog plum, June plum, and even pigeon plum on the savory side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think
all great ideas, and that's what we want to encourage. Like you say, local ownership, right? At that level, the hotels are basically owned by other individuals, and so the Airbnb aspect of it gives the everyday man, the common man, the opportunity to be owners of a business on that scale and that level, and providing them with the tools needed to succeed is what BAIC is all about. And so the government has entrusted us with the land, and so it makes no sense for us to brag about having land and not developing it. And so because we have individuals who are now ready to make that step with an idea, with the finances that they may have, assistance in other areas, we thought it was necessary to bring together these other government agencies to make the process a little easier for these individuals. And so that's what it's all about. We want to see persons succeed who would have come to us. It benefits us as a Bahamian people, as a populace, when we have successful businesses. And so we're here to ensure that people succeed, and this is one avenue that our chairman has sought to ensure that we carry out this mandate. And so we thought it fitting to come on Guardian Radio to make this announcement publicly. We would have already sent out emails to those individuals, and we would have sent out that flyer that you have to those individuals who we expect to be a part, either via Zoom or in person if they are in New Providence, to get the necessary information needed in order to move forward.
Absolutely. Let me repeat the details for this tomorrow evening's event. Symposium for Tenants, Thursday, 21st of March, 2024. BAIC training room at the BAIC facility on Old Trail Road. Call the office at 396-3725 or 6 for the Zoom link if you are on a family island. And representatives from BAIC, Department of Physical Planning, DIR, Inland Revenue, Bahamas Development Bank, Bank of the Bahamas, Small Business Development Center, and the National Insurance Board and the Tourism Development Corporation will be in attendance. Now, and before you go, I want to say to the audience, the BAIC feed mill is now open and available for farmers to purchase feed for various types of animals. The Golden Yoke Project is moving along. There's a great article in The Guardian from the 8th of March. Old eggs are dumped in the Bahamas, says BAIC chairman. And two of my favorite events for the year, the Agribusiness Expo returns at the Gladstone Road Agricultural Center, April 12th through 13th. And Taste and Tell and April 20th, I think, on BAIC grounds.
Now, Erin, let me say this. You
Yes,
don't
sir.
you don't play around. You came prepared and you have all the information gathered and you've ensured that your listening audience knows exactly what BAIC and the ministry, because it's the ministry who's actually responsible for the Agro Expo.
Oh, yes.
And so that falls under them. But nevertheless, you've provided the general public with such great information, and we appreciate not just coming on a show, but coming on a show where the work has been prepared already, and you're informing the general public of the opportunities that exist. And so many times you hear people say, well, things aren't happening. They are.
Yes.
You have to do your work as well to find out what is happening. And so we've done through this process of coming to you to let the general public know, even though it's for our somewhat approved applicants. And so it's closed to the general public. But we still want the public to know that this is what we are doing here at BAIC. A lot of times people reference BAMC and BAIC together, but there's two different roles. BAMC is more responsible for the education of those persons who want to go into the farming sector, and BAIC is responsible for developing entrepreneurship throughout the country.
Absolutely.
And so that is what we are mandated to do. That is where our focus are. And we're going to ensure that as long as we are here, all of our committed, hardworking staff at the corporation is there to assist everybody that walks through either of our doors, whether it's here in New Providence or on either of our family islands.
Listen, thank you so much. I'm going to end the show. Producer, get the music rolling with this text here. It says, good day. So with Strombus gigas on the conservation list, where's the public-private plan for conch farms? So I just want to ask quickly, for the next cohort of applicants, would a conch farm be among the potential projects to be funded or supported by BAIC? But don't watch nothing as we put the Strombus gigas on the conservation list. I want to remind Bahamians that there are many types of conch in our water, and conch or the horse conch in a pressure cooker to reproduce your traditional Bahamian conch dishes while protecting the Strombus gigas for conch salad in the future. Anyway, I come into you all with this idea, and as soon as I finish with the show today, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and I look forward to the calendar of events that BAIC has created for the entrepreneurs of the Bahamas. Have a great day, Mr. and Ms. Miller.
Thank you very much. And you and your other co-hosts, you all have a great day as well as the general public.
Absolutely. We look forward to having you back on soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Producer, play that music. We got to go to the break. And when we go to the break, we're going to pick up with Guardian Radio AM side of the Wednesday show. And maybe we delve back into some of the stories we had already started touching on, and maybe we move to the future. You guys, thanks for tuning in to On the Clock with Erin Greene. Stay tuned to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be right back.